Kia ora, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm sitting here with my friend
Brooklyn Engelken, founder of Words to Heal You.
and we hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
I really appreciate this. When I get other people who have been guests on before and they say someone needs to come on, that's when I'm like, yes, because I know that they are my people.
Yeah,
you know?
that's an honor.
Because you've had them on before or you've had people who must be like-minded. So you're like, yes, okay, I'll vibe with this person.
Yeah.
And we've literally maybe 3 minutes since going outside to coming in, and we've just been going.
Can't stop talking.
So it's so cool to have you here. But thank you. And thank you for everything you're doing in general.
Of course.
And I think a lot of people are going to want to get into that stuff. But before we do, just a quick synopsis of who you are and where you're from, and then we can delve into deeper thoughts soon.
Love it. Well, I'm Brooklyn. I am from Dunedin. I grew up there, moved to Wellington, currently live in Wellington, and work in social media, and my side hustle is Words to Heal You.
Right. And it's funny when you hear that, because people who are following Words to Heal You will think this is a full-time grind, this is your thing that you're doing every single day.
Yeah.
And now when I look back on it, it has been something that you've been almost doing every day since August last year.
Yeah, August last year, 31st of August.
So you remember the date?
Oh my gosh, I remember the date like it was yesterday, yeah.
Right, and now from the first post to now, kind of everyone sees that's the work, but there's probably a period before that. So so walk us through actually what your idea of what the page is.
Oh, Words to Heal You, I always say to people, Words to Heal You is my life journey. You know, it started when I was 4 years old. And because behind Words to Heal You and the heart behind it is to use the empathy of relatability in impacting broken people, right? But that first started when I was a child, having to go through a life of brokenness to then find healing, to then feel free to offer that to other people, you know?
Absolutely.
So I think it's been it's a life story. Words to Heal You is my life story, but actually starting it, I had the idea of starting it when I was 15.
Right.
And then it was lockdown last year, the last day of lockdown. And I was like, I need to start it. It's time. I'm 20 years old. It's time, you know? And so then I started it in lockdown. Yeah.
And then so actually getting up the courage to be able to start something like that as well, anything that you're going to do, you're what if it flops? But then it sounds like you have that deeper purpose because you are sharing your story.
Totally.
So for you to press, submit or whatever it is, post on that first post, was there what was the apprehension behind that?
Oh my gosh. The first post of Words to Heal You was on my own account.
Okay.
And I just announced, because before I had Words to Heal You, the platform, I just always posted words on my own account.
Right.
And so people kind of followed me because they knew that I did that kind of stuff. And so I posted an announcement being I've started this page, Words to Heal You. And I was really stressed about it. And I was stressing to my friends and I was I don't think it's going to get any engagement because it's kind of, I don't know, it seemed at the time like something that I hadn't really seen done before.
Sure.
Now, obviously, in the space, I know it's been done a lot and better than me, but I was I haven't really seen much of this before. I'm nervous that it's not going to go well. And then that night, I posted it and it so many people started following it and I was oh no, now I've got now people probably expect something of it, but I didn't know what it was going to be.
Right.
So I was I posted it, I announced it and I was oh my gosh, people expect this to be something, but I don't know what it's going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
And so my first post on Words to Heal You was a week later, and it was basically me saying, I can't guarantee that you're going to find anything here, but whatever you want, take it, you know?
Yeah. And that was, I like that when people kind of premise this is, these are my thoughts on my journey and if you take anything you do. And I think one of the, when I do look at it and I look at the engagement of it, it's a lot of people maybe not necessarily taking the words and applying it to themselves, but seeing this is applicable to then just sending it on to people. And it's that could just be the thing that pops up on their screen.
Yeah.
And they're whoa.
Totally.
Whoa, you just hit me there.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Is that feeling for you something you're used to yet?
No way. Oh my gosh, no way. I think people message me saying thank you all the time. And I'm like, please don't thank me. Like, I mean, I'm so grateful for all the thank yous, but to me, it's like, I feel I've got like this hard case of imposter syndrome.
Sure.
And I'm like, this isn't real life yet. But I mean, it's every day it's becoming more of a reality. But I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. You know?
Yeah. No, I think even just knowing that one person benefited from it, and if it was that just like a small thing, like it made them smile today, you're like, oh my gosh, that's what I do it for.
Oh my gosh.
And before that, so you know, this is an idea that's coming through like lockdown and stuff, and then like now it's kind of blown up into you know, so many different things that are happening. I think the first thing that I did notice of yours is that I do see a lot of people wearing the clothing.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. So.
Oh, totally.
So if I say to people, "Oh, words to heal you," they're like, "Huh?" And then I'll be like, "You know those hoodies that?"
Oh, they know the hoodies.
And then they're like, "I've seen those hoodies," or they have that hoodie. So that was always like, what was the pipeline for your first post to where you are now?
Oh my gosh. So the hoodies was something I never intended to do.
Okay.
I really never intended to do that. But Words to You grew so fast, and the people loved it so fast. And so I felt like this responsibility to kind of put Words to Heal You, because obviously Brooklyn, me, whatever, like I run Words to Heal You, but there's a whole world of people that are Words to Heal You, you know. Grabbing my water. Everyone kind of can play their part in being Words to Heal You, you know.
Yep.
Water break.
Nice.
And so when I hit 1,000 followers, I made one hoodie.
Yep.
And I was like, doing a giveaway. Thank you so much for 1,000 followers. Here's a hoodie that says the world is better with you in it on the back. And I was like, that was my only plan, was to make one hoodie for this one special person because I love them. And honestly, so many DMs, too many DMs to even count.
Yeah.
Where can I buy this hoodie? Where can I buy this hoodie? And I was like, no, you can't buy the hoodie. Like, it's for the one person.
Yeah.
And then it kept going for weeks. And I was like, oh, maybe I should make some hoodies and like sell them. And so I did a post one day, and it was literally nothing. It was like an iPhone photo of my laptop screen being like, if you want one of these hoodies, DM me.
Yeah.
And I think over the first weekend, I posted it on a Thursday, and by the Monday, I think I'd sold 250.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to run a business. Like, I'm not business savvy whatsoever. And so I'd sold 250, and I had no idea what I was doing. I sold them at basically wholesale price.
Sure.
I wasn't making any profit. I didn't really make any profit for the first like 600 hoodies.
Yeah.
But then they started selling, and it peaked. Obviously, that first 250, I was like, oh my gosh, like there was cool people that bought them, so that made it big, like Uncle Tix, or like some TikTokers, Johnny Tuivasa-Sheik, like cool people like saw it, and so they like helped me a lot because people saw them wearing it, and then I was like, oh, it's peaked, like it's never going to be like this again. I need to live in this moment. And then it never stopped.
Right.
It didn't stop, and it's been a year, and it's still going. And the hoodies, people know Words to Heal You as hoodies now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, because there's so many different things which we'll get into shortly. But I want to come back, right? So there's that responsibility, but then also to be able to share any side of you, like almost that, you know, taking that part down of like, I'm always okay to be like, hey, these are some reflections that I had. And for you to be so kind of critical of that or reflective of it, you know, knowing that it goes back to when you were 4 years old, thinking about it when you're 15, where all you wanted to be at 15 was cool, you know? You wanted
Totally,
to,
yeah.
So, like, how were you so introspective at that age?
Yeah. I think that everyone has skills in life, right? And mine happened to be nothing on paper, but all in my heart.
Ah, right.
You know, which was a real letdown when I was in school, because everyone was really amazing around me at sport, and my friends were amazing at sport, or so academic, or so, you know, we all had our things in school, but mine was like, oh, like, I care about the person who's going through a hard breakup, or I care about the person who doesn't have any friends, or whatever. And that sounds like kind of cringe, I guess, but like on paper, I didn't really have lots to offer.
Sure.
But I just really cared about people, really genuinely. And I think that I struggled with that because I didn't know how to express it, you know?
Yeah, right.
And so, when I was 15, I always had these like visions of, or like these ideas of, rallying together strangers and showcasing how we're all kind of similar, you know?
That's cool.
And I think that's what Words to Heal You is like, I have people on Words to Heal You who message who are solo mothers of 5. Yeah. And then I have like 14-year-old girls. And then I have like rugby players, and then you know, like there's all these different kinds of people, and it shows that we're all kind of one and the same.
Absolutely,
you know?
yeah. And that it's nice because when you do have words and then you do have kind of a story, some people will take it, you know, and they'll apply it to different parts of their life, and it won't be the same as someone else, but that middle ground, that part that does help you relate is what is similar, and that's when we come together. And that's something that I found with like all the people on this podcast. You know, they could be the most amazing people, but they still struggle with something that a lot of us do. And then once you get to put it out there, and other people are like, wait, I'm not crazy. Or,
oh my gosh,
that's like such a huge relief, right?
We're in this together. You know? Yeah,
that's so cool. And then going through school, and you know, was there something that, like, was school something that was, you know, easy for you? Because I do find that a lot of the females that I get on, they are talking about school. It wasn't really difficult time.
Yeah, totally. Yes and no. I try not to. I feel like I don't think about it as much as I maybe should. Sure. It was a really good time. I loved people a lot. Like I really loved people, but I dealt with like I went through a lot when I was in high school. I grew up with a single mum, and then she moved overseas, and my siblings, and then they all moved overseas when I was 15. Right. And so I was like in the trenches doing it by myself at 15. But people don't, I think 15-year-olds, I mean, a lot of them do, but for the most part, they don't really have much empathy or sympathy. Sure. I don't know, you're kind of in your own boat when you're 15, you know?
Absolutely.
You go through your stuff and, you know, you come out the other side. And I was going through a lot when I was in high school, but my priority was always like being a good friend to other people.
That's so cool.
And I have no idea what other people would say, but I hope that people who I was friends with in school would look back and think, oh yeah, Brooklyn was a good friend to me when I needed it, you know?
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And, you know, when you are going through that, it's hard now because you think about it and you're like, yeah, well, I am doing that anyway. But, you know, when you do have that empathy and that compassion, but it's never been something that you've ever honed, it's always just been something that you had. Yeah. Like, was it something that, in terms of energy and being able to maintain that energy, that you found, like, drained you a lot? Or was it something that kind of kept you going?
Totally. I think what drained me a lot was people not seeing, like, the real heart behind it. Sure, yeah. I was never, I think growing up in a small town and like people not, I don't know, everyone's so different. Yeah. And I think like I said, people's passions on paper were like sport or surfing or like whatever. And mine was like, I cared a lot about helping people. Yeah. And so I think like what drained my energy was that a lot of people like didn't understand what I was passionate about, or there wasn't many people in the same boat of like, this urgency of making sure that people were okay.
Yeah, nice. And then, you know, I think that does kind of go into, because you said, you know, you went to university and then you studied pretty much like humans, being social beings. Yeah. Right. So was that kind of part of that that aspiration to going into that?
Totally. Well, when I finished school, it was like in year 13, I was in like October, and I was like, man, I really got to do something. Like I have to do something next year. I didn't have any idea of what Woods Here was going to be. All I knew was that I was really passionate about people and how people work and how people work together, and I had no idea what to do. My friend said she was going to study sociology. I was like, what is that? Yep. She told me. I was like, I'm going to do that too. And then I did it. I started at Otago and then I moved up to Wellington. And it was cool, but I knew that there was something more. Sure. There was like something more for me, you know. People at uni would ask, oh, what do you want to do after uni? Or what do you think, what do you see when you envision yourself in 10 years? And I would always say, without fail, oh, what I'm going to do hasn't been done yet. Right. And I honestly have been saying that since I was a child, because I'm like, oh yeah, what I'm going to do hasn't been done yet. But I had no idea that was going to be worth to you, you know?
Right. No, that's so cool. Yeah. Because, you know, when you do have those things, and it's a weird thing. Like I want you to try see if you can describe it. Where it's like you know exactly what you're saying, but you also don't know what it looks like. But you have, it's like a weird something in you. What was that was in you?
Okay, might sound cringy, but I think it's just like faith.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is like preachy, but faith is like something you can't see, but it's there, you know? Yeah. And so Words to Hear, like even before actually Words to Hear started, and the whole future thing, being like, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life, but I know that's something. Yeah. Like I know I'm not going to be just insignificant, but I have no idea what it looks like, and I can't convince, like, my parents are like, oh, what are you doing, like, with your life? And I'm like, I have no idea. Just trust it, you know?
Yeah.
It's like that little bit of faith that goes a long way, you know?
No, that's so, because it is that. It is knowing, like, within yourself and backing yourself. As much as you think, like, this is silly, but then you, like, say, no, but something doesn't feel like it's going to pull me away from this. Like, there's still something that's keeping me going that way. And that's probably that faith.
Yeah. It's just that real, like we said, backing yourself is like, you can't really chase anything that hasn't been done before if you don't back yourself. You know?
No, that's awesome. And then, so to be able to go into something like this, you know, you had your first couple of posts on your own personal page. That in itself is huge.
Like, I guess so.
Because now you're going out to people who know you, have known you for a while. They have one image of what you could be. Then you start putting out these reflective posts. I know. Totally. Yeah, and it's like, whoa, and you do it for you. Yeah. Like, did you know that was something that you had to do, or was it just something that you're like, oh, see how it goes? And then what was the response to that?
One thing about me is that I've never really had much shame.
Okay, right.
Like, I'm like, whatever. Like, I mean, I do and I don't care about what people think of me. Like, I really care about what people think of me, but at the core of me, I'm like, I believe in myself so much that I don't need you to believe in me, you know? Awesome, yeah. Oh, that took a lot of learning. Like, that was a long journey. But at this point, and when I started Words Theory a year ago, I was like, I believe in it so much that if people who I know, because it's the small town thing, you know, like growing up in Dunedin, like, it was nerve-wracking being like, oh, all these people are going to see, like, it's vulnerability, and vulnerability isn't like the most attractive thing, you know.
For sure.
I think I owe a lot of like my peace of mind to the success of Words to Heal You. People would never now be like, oh, I mean, maybe they do, I don't know, but they'd never be like, oh my gosh, like, Brooklyn is so vulnerable, you know. Whereas, like, the success of it has been like, oh my gosh, the only thing people have to say about it is, oh my gosh, like, congrats on how well it's gone, you know? Man, it's so backwards sometimes, where, like, it's not just a normal thing for us to be like, oh, I'm so glad that they reflected on that. Like, if I could, you know, my one of my dreams has just been like, make so much money that me and all my homies, like, we get the therapy we need, and we can sit in circles like this and like be able to open up. So that's, I think, in terms of like you putting your stuff out there, and you know, we need those people who not worried about themselves, can put it out there so that other people can at least think about it. Totally. Someone's got to do it.
So you go through uni and you've moved to Wellington and you've never lived here before?
No, never.
That transition in itself, because that's also huge, having to move city from somewhere that you've grown up. So talk us through that.
So I think I had it in 2019. I had a bit of like a wall of like, what am I doing and who am I? And I was only 18, so it wasn't, I don't know why I was pressuring myself, but I was just like, I don't know who I am, and I feel like I'm not finding myself, you know? And so, I honestly remember picking up Mason. Mason is my fiance, my long-standing boyfriend.
Perfect.
We've been together since we were young. And so I remember picking him up from school one day, being like, do you want to move to Wellington? And then he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, like, I think I'm going to go in 5 months. And he was like, oh, no, I'm not going in 5 months. And I was like, okay. Like, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go. Okay. And then I just honestly packed up my stuff, found a house on Instagram, like found a person who was like renting out a room. And I moved without my long-term boyfriend, without any money, without, like, I had some friends up here, but not like, I wasn't coming to anything. Like, I mean, I had like, I knew people but no real plan of like what I was going to do. And then I just moved and hoped for the best. And the second I moved, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I'm meant to be right now.
That's so cool.
It's bigger. There's more opportunities. There's more creativity. There's more open-mindedness. And for me, that's just what I needed, you know?
Yeah. And I think there's something to be said about like, because then that goes to show once again that you have that faith, that you have that something, like something's driving you to be like, I can do this. I'm just going to go do it. And
you got to do it.
Yeah, you write it down on paper, you're like, silly move. But then, but then like something, and you're like, do it. And you're like, okay.
You've got to have that drive. Like, we are about to move to London in 4 months. And it's the same, together this time, praise God. But it's like that thing of like, if you don't do it now, you're probably never going to do it. And it was the same with Wellington. I was like, oh, I could move to Wellington, or I could move to Wellington. You know, like, you've got to make a decision and you've got to do it, you know? And so, I'm really grateful that that's one thing that I'm really grateful, like, to my mum for, especially, is like just that drive and the determination, you know. Just got to do it.
And do your parents know like what you're doing now? Yeah.
My mum does. I have a really close relationship with my mum, and she she lives in Brisbane, and
Right.
I send hoodies to Brisbane like quite often,
Right.
and she cries every time she sees one.
That's awesome.
She literally cries, and I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And every person she makes take a photo, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, Mum, that's so embarrassing. Like, these poor girls or like poor boys.
Oh, like people just out walking, and she'll be like, "Hey,
and
cool."
she's like,
oh.
that's my daughter's thing, and she's like crying and can turn around, I'm taking a photo, and I'm like, Mum, don't traumatize the
Oh
poor girl.
my
You know,
God, that's awesome.
She's so proud of Words to Heal You. She's like the backing of Words to Heal You. You know, she's like, yeah, she's demonstrated a life of what Words to Heal You is. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's powerful, and that's the stuff. And like, I know it's cringe for you, but like, I feel like if I had a good friend who was doing all that sort of stuff, every time I'd see it out in the wild, I'm like,
Oh,
yes,
it's cute, eh?
yeah. You just have to like
It's
amp
cute.
it up, because that was a belief that is now put into fruition, and other
Totally.
people are behind that now.
Yeah.
So yeah, no props to you. But now let's get to the content stuff, right? The deep stuff.
Go on.
When you are posting, because it is regular, and it is not just like a hey, like, you know, these are deep thoughts.
Yeah.
And
they
a
are.
lot of them are, you know, almost, I really enjoy the step-by-step ones, where it's like things just to consider.
Oh yeah.
And
love
you go
it.
through, you're like, yes, yes. And it just like, the further you go into it, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But then some of them are just personal, like little things you can do for yourself. Are these, you know, is it something, have you always been like a reflective journaler? Because that's
Yeah.
what I feel like I'm doing, is I'm
totally.
reading a journal.
Totally. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yes. 100%. I've always been a journaler. And the first post of Words to Heal You, in my announcement, the caption said, my journals have been collecting dust. All these words, I mean, to some they might not be priceless, but to me, that's like my healing journey.
Yeah.
And they're like collecting dust. And then like the words I've written in my journal or my notes app or whatever, it's collecting dust that could potentially impact someone.
Wow, yeah.
And so I was like, that was literally it. I was like, Words to Heal You is my virtual diary. And I'm inviting potentially, I mean, one day millions of people to come and read my diary.
For sure.
But I don't have a fear of vulnerability,
Right.
you know, but I know that some people do. And that's part of the drive behind Words to Heal You, is like creating this space, this safe space of like, we are all vulnerable together.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you are putting it out there, like obviously the personal details, like you can take aside so that they're applicable to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But, you know, sometimes when you do have to revisit journal entries, it brings back things.
Oh.
So when you're going back through and you're going to put some stuff out, like,
Yeah.
do you feel like, does the emotion come with it?
Yeah, totally. It's like everything I post is from a place that I've been.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's heaps of examples, but overthinking is a huge one. I like, my mind is like, our minds are powerful, you know.
Yes.
And so overthinking is a big one. And every time I post about overthinking, it's because I've been in a place of overthinking.
Yeah.
I don't usually post until I feel like I've got some sort of victory over it.
That's cool.
You know, I'm not like I try to remove the emotion actively.
Yep.
I write on my notes app mainly when I'm in something. So for example, if I'm overthinking, I'm writing it down. And then later, once I've processed, then I'll be able to post.
Awesome.
Because it's
Yeah.
not like just an emotional, like, this is so hard, take it, you
Yep.
know, here's
Yep.
my emotion. It's more of like, I've been there and now I'm here. You know, it's like a victory story.
Sure,
hopefully.
sure, and I do think that's very powerful because, you know, I've been to quite a few events where you can see the different stages that people are at when they're talking about something, and I do think that there's kind of a danger around kind of being through something, writing about it, then putting it out to the world,
Yeah.
because then you are in that.
Yes,
like,
that's
and-
you.
Yeah, and then when you're
Totally.
having so much exposure, and then people are commenting on it, like, no, I don't think this is right. Like, you're there. You're like,
It's not
oh,
helping.
you think it's a direct attack.
Yeah, it's not helping you.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I've had moments where I'm like, I have a Words to Heal You unfiltered account.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that's like a bit of a naughty account. It's
Okay,
like
alright.
it's like for everyone, but
right,
it's like
right.
it's like that's the account where it's like something bad will happen, and I'll write in my notes app, screenshot my notes, and post it on there. Like that's like active, because unfiltered is me unfiltered.
Yes.
It's never like too like it's not. I don't give the world all of me, you know.
yeah.
But like for the most part, if there's something going on, like for example, a friend let me down, so I'm writing on Words to Heal You unfiltered. Why do friends let us down all the time? Screenshot posts, you know, it's like active. But with Words to Heal You itself, I can't, it's not doing myself a service by if I'm posting how I'm actually feeling. Because the thing is that A really specific example is Father's Day. Is a little bit of a, I don't know, it's a sensitive day for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I post every year on Father's Day an ode to people who feel different types of way on Father's Day. And Father's Day is like a sensitive day to me. And then I post it actively and it's like a little bit emotional for me.
Yeah,
and then people are commenting, oh, like whatever, like, oh, just a bunch of people can comment whatever they want.
Of course,
and and so that's a first-hand experience of like, if I post in the raw emotion, then I'm going to take all of the backlash with me. But when I'm posting out of the raw emotion and it's like something I've won, no one can knock me down.
Absolutely. You know? Yes, no, that's so cool. And I think a lot of people can take stuff away from that. But also, you know, because it is a human behind the stuff that you're doing.
Oh, please write that down. I posted that on Wednesday Unfiltered the other day, especially with the hoodie stuff. Like, I posted, salespeople are humans too.
Yeah.
Like, people that are selling stuff are humans because, like, I think, well, Words to Heal You itself is quite anonymous. The people, for the most part, like, a lot of people would know it's me. But, I mean, it's an account with no face to it. And, like, if you go on it, you can't really find it. It's Brooklyn Engelken, you know. And so I think that takes away a lot of the, like, people forget that, like, I'm just a human, you know? And so people think, and this isn't just for Words to You, this is for every kind of area like Words to You, is that, like, people think they can demand of you, you know? And they think that they have the right to you. And so a lot of the time people message me with what's going on in their life actively. And if I don't reply, they're really mad about it. But I'm like, I can't give away all of myself because then I've got nothing for me, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that was something that I found actually after putting the podcast out. And because a lot of it is reflective, a lot of it is just like, this is an idea I had and I'm going through it. And then people will be like, hey, look, I had this there. And I'm like, but I'm not a counselor. That's not what I want to get into. Like, I'm just speaking my thoughts. So that's where I want to get to with this is, you know, you're putting it out there and you have stories and it's really cool, the engagement that you get where you'll put up, you know, just like a question and then people are writing back to you.
Totally.
How is that engagement? Like, what do you do for yourself? Because it's probably had to change since it's grown so much.
Totally.
So from the beginning to where you are now, what are things you've put in place to keep you safe?
Oh, number one, I cannot be all these people's savior. Yes. I cannot, like me, myself, I cannot save these people because I want to. Like, the thing is that if I was God, you know, I would, you know, but I'm not. Like, I need to remind myself, daily, like, I can't actually save these people. I want to, like, I hope they know I want to, but
it's okay. We're in the middle of Wellington, sorry, people.
Wellington City. But I want to save people, but I can't. And so really removing, taking myself off a pedestal, you know, like, I don't belong there in the first place, but sometimes I'm like, oh, what an honor that all these people trust me with their feelings and they trust me with what's going on in their life. But some of it is really sad and it's hard to bear, but I know that I'm not meant to be their savior. I know I'm not meant to come and, like, be their superhero. It's just a place for them. I've recognized Words to You for what it is. It's not, I can't offer people what I can't give them, you know. All it is a virtual safe space that people can be free to be themselves, you know. And so so what I put in place is just really reminding myself that it's, you know, I'm just a person. I'm just a vessel, you know, like, I'm just someone who somehow has all these words and empathy in their mind and then it gets through to the people, but I can't, you know, save these people.
Yeah, for sure. And now just, you know, just to show people how much of a human you are. So like the growth, can you, so we will talk through the actual growth and like, like what you saw. And then, so we'll go through that as like a platform itself. You know, you start it, you get that. And then when things start to come in and you're just like, I was not ready for this.
Oh, totally.
Like what was the time span and like, how did that all go?
I wish I knew specific dates. I think, so this time last year, I filmed a video with my friend, predictions of 2023.
Okay.
Oh, 2022. And I was like, let's predict what our life's going to look like in a year's time. Oh my gosh, I clearly didn't believe in myself as much back then because I was like, I think this time last year I had 4,000 followers.
Okay.
Which was bliss. Like, it was still making a difference. But 4,000 followers. And in my predictions video, I was like, I think in a year's time I'm going to have 7,000 followers. And I was like, oh my gosh, 7,000 people. Like, that's amazing. And so, and now I'm on, I don't know, 13,000 or something, which is great. I think one thing about the growth is that people see it for what it is, but I see it for what it will be.
Sure.
So people are like overwhelmed with the growth. They're like, oh my gosh, you've got 13,000 followers. And I'm like, yes, I do. but I will have more. Not for followers. I don't really care about numbers. Like, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I want like 1 million followers. It's more like I see that number, 12,950 or whatever it is, as like individual people.
Absolutely.
You know, like I really genuinely do. I like often like will Google how many people can you fit in a stadium, you know? And I'm like, I'm like, it's like 20,000. I'm like, one day I'm going to fill a stadium, you know? Yeah. So I see it for what it will be because I really believe in what's doing.
Sure.
I'm like, one day it's going to be this huge thing. But right now it's really special and it's intimate. It feels intimate, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And then, because it gets that weird point where you've gone beyond your friends, you've gone beyond your friends' friends, and now you're like, it's a bunch of people who have no idea who any of you are, but they're like, backing it so hard. That's
the weirdest thing. Yeah. That's the weirdest thing. And I've only just been experiencing it in the past few months of people coming up and thanking me on the street.
Yeah.
And so people always message me at least a couple times a day, thank you so much. And I'm like, please don't thank me. Like, I do not deserve this. Thank you. And people have started coming up to me on the street to say thank you. Yeah. And it's the nicest thing ever. But I'm like, I can't believe I don't know you. Like, and in my head, I'm like, well, we should just be friends because if you follow with Stewie, we're probably just mates. You know?
Yeah.
And like in my head, I'm like, oh, I've got the capacity to be friends with 13,000 people. But like, I can't believe that there's people outside of my immediate people.
Yeah.
Or like outside of the, I don't know, before I had Word Stewie on my main account, there was like 4,000 followers, right? And I was like, I can't believe that there's more than 4,000 people that know Word Stewie.
Sure.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And it's one of those things where, yeah, I don't think you'll ever, like, it doesn't matter how famous you get, like, you'll always be like, well, that one person, and it'll just make your day.
Oh,
and you'll be like, that's so cool.
Oh, totally.
And now, the other thing was just that you said there's humans behind the people who are doing the deliveries. Yes. You go to put that first hoodie out, like, you don't probably have, like, a warehouse. You don't have anything.
No.
Describe the setting. So, like, you're getting some orders in, and how does that all look and work?
Okay, so the first hoodie, the giveaway winner, she lived in Wellington, and I was like, I hand delivered it to her house.
Just drive it over.
Because I was like, I'll take it over. And honestly, all the first hoodies, a lot of them were Wellington. I was like, I'll just drive them around. And then quickly I was like, I cannot be driving 60 hoodies around Wellington a week, you know. But so I can't really remember it. So we got about 75 orders in the first day. So I sent them off to a printer.
Yep.
I've got a printer in Wellington. He's a good guy. And then he delivered them to my house.
Okay.
And then I was like, looked at like 15 boxes of hoodies and I was like, where do I start and what do I do? And my factory was my bedroom and my small bedroom. My bedroom was like half the size of this right now.
Okay.
But I had 75 hoodies and like I needed to get them out and I was like, I don't know where the heck to begin. And also now I need to figure out post bags and like all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know how to figure all this out. Anyways, got a friend over, got Mason over, and we just got to work. Right. And I was like, it's fine, guys. This is the peak. Like, it's never going to be like this again. And now we send out 75 hoodies a fortnight easily, you know, easily. So, but now I know how to do it.
Yeah. But it's still just, it's still hand-packed by...
Yes. If I wasn't relocating to London, I probably would hire a team.
Sure.
Because I really care to grow Woods to hear you, the team, like the inner team.
Yeah.
But first I'm going to go to London and take it worldwide and do something big. And then eventually I know that we'll have a big team of staff who like, not even just pack hoodies, but like really dream for the future together, you know?
Sure. Yeah, like actually have a bunch of people who really believe in what they're doing and not just like, I pack hoodies. Actually, like, I'm part of this.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
That's fantastic. And now you're talking about worldwide. I saw a post about there was overseas like a billboard.
Yes.
Is that true?
Billboards, heaps of billboards in Aussie, yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, I first got I'll tell you about it. So my first like little posters were A1 size. So like, you know, just regular posters. Yep. A1 in Wellington, all up around the city. And I looked at it, and it's this case again of like, people love Woods Stewie for what it is, I love it for what it will be, right? And so I saw the posters. Now this is so dramatic, and maybe I don't want to sound ungrateful, but I saw the posters and I was like, that's so amazing. I hope that impacts people. But man, I want them to be bigger.
Yeah,
like, I was like,
of course you want.
No, A1, like, great, but how do I get like these humongous billboards that people like drive past and they're like, oh my gosh, the world is better with me in it, you know? And so I was going over to Australia for a month, and everything is cheaper and bigger and better and whatever in Australia, right? And so I emailed around all these people. Now this is I'm going raw here. So I emailed around all these people and I was like, hey, like, so candid. My name's Brooklyn. I run Woods here in New Zealand. Probably never heard of it. Like, I do these little billboards in New Zealand. I'd love to get them up in Aussie. Like, it's not about self-promotion. It's not about, I'm not trying to advertise anything. I'm actually just trying to impact people who see it. And 2 people got back to me within the same day and they were like, oh, we'll put them up for free for you.
Oh, how cool.
And I was like, are you joking me? Like, and it was like these 60-year-old guys. Like, it's not like these hip, woke Instagram girls who are like, yeah, we love Words to Heal You. It's like these people that don't know Words to Heal You. And they're like, oh no, we really believe in like what you're selling or like what you're telling people. And so a bunch of these guys just put them up for free all around Queensland.
That is so cool. That's magic. Like, that is the coolest stuff. And it was like what I was saying before. Someone could just be driving and like monotonous, just like usual thing. Like, whatever. Oh, I just had a long day. Got to go home, tired. Just look up and be like, oh yeah. That little smirk.
The world is better with me in it, you know? Or like one of them was checking on your friends, even the ones that look like they're happy or something.
Right.
And it was like, to me, it was like, I hope that people driving who are having a good day think, oh yeah, I should check in on my friends who look happy. And maybe that check-in is exactly what they needed, you know? Yeah.
So I think there's like multiple elements of this, and it is coming back to you having that faith in yourself, but you know, to be able to reach out as well. Like, I think that's part of your personality. Is
the
that
shamelessness.
Just do it. Just like, okay, do it, deal with it later. If it comes back and, you know, you're putting it all out there, what's the worst that could happen?
Oh, totally. Nothing too, the thing is, I'm like super shameless. And I've never lost my dignity over any of this. Like, people, like, for the most part, like, people love Words to Heal You. People, outside of even the brand of Words to Heal You, people love words. Like, it's a thing to love healing, great, empathetic, optimistic words. And so people back it. Like, people are into it. And the people who aren't, most of the time, know me personally from, I don't know, younger days, or aren't emotionally deep, you know? So whatever.
Just people who are just like, oh, why is that important?
Yeah. And I'm like, well, because I used to say, that's funny, I used to say all the time, oh, Words to Heal You is for everyone.
Right.
And I was positive Words to Heal You was for everyone. And then it was that Father's Day thing, and I was getting these, like, well, not hate comments, but like these critical comments from like young teenage boys. Whatever. And then I realized, no, Words to Heal You is not for everyone. Words to Heal You is for people who want healing. Words to Heal You is for people who want a better life. Not that I can give a better life, but Words to Heal You is not for everyone. It's for the people who get it. It's for the people who want it, you know.
And like, it's quite surprising how time works as well. Like, you might have seen a post that, like, when you first read it, you're like, huh? And then you like, it'll just hit you at the randomest time. Like, you're having a shower or something, you're just like, oh damn! Like,
one day you'll need
it. That's so cool. Now, another thing that I saw when I was going through, and like, it's weird, you know, you just kind of, you know, you do little things, and then you look at it, and I'm just like, okay, you've partnered. With different things, and that's when I know that it's no longer for you, because you're now doing stuff that's going to benefit actual proper causes. I'm not saying that nothing's a proper cause, sorry, but what I mean is, like, you're actually getting on board and supporting, because you're using this platform, but now you're using it to go across things that are actually going to actually will change lives.
Definitely.
How did that come about? Was that something that you did to reach out, or someone talked to you?
So Lifeline, you're talking about Lifeline? Yep. So I collaborated with Lifeline for Mental Health Awareness Week this year in October. And that was amazing. I have always had a real passion to, like, actually make a difference. I know that Words to Heal You is like a great place for feelings, but the next level is like, how do we get, most of the time people will message me on Words to Heal You. A lot of it is about how they can't afford help. You know? And that's where I'm like, oh, I want to be the superhero and help everyone. And I'm like, maybe I should pay for this person to get a year of counselling. Right. But that's where I've got to take myself away and be like, no, you can't fix everyone. You can't fix. You can't. And so I was like, okay, what can I do? I can partner with Lifeline, or maybe I can partner with someone, and making a real difference in the funding aspect. I know people, and like, I've heard stories of people's experiences with Lifeline, and like, through getting to know the team at Lifeline, I understand so closely the demand that people have on Lifeline New Zealand is astronomical right now. We're in a time post-COVID, you know, this great everything is going on. Mental health is like plummeting in New Zealand, and and people need real help.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how can I offer people real help?
For sure.
Obviously, I want to give people nice words that help them through their day, but how can I offer people like real help, you know? And so the collaboration was just sparked out of the idea of like, man, people need real help, and Lifeline can do it, you know? Lifeline does it. And so they have an average of, I think, 300 phone calls a day and 1,000 text messages. And not enough people to facilitate that, you know? And so how can I do, I never shared it publicly, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, how can I make the wait time smaller, you know? Because the wait time, if you call Lifeline, is, you know, there's a wait time, but I'm like, how can I make it smaller, you know?
Yeah. Wow. And I think that comes back to the overall thing of this is this like, you are interacting with a service that is run a lot of the time by humans as well. So it's like there's when there is a heavy demand, it's not that they're useless. And like what you were saying there, like you actually heard firsthand from people who are handling these things, and like as much as you want to be empathetic and as much as you want to be able to serve all of these different people, like there are still people, like there's a shortage because there are people on the other end who can't deliver it. So I really commend that sort of work, because you know you can say that you're about one thing, but then it's actually your actions, a lot of the things that you put into it. That's when I start to see like, that's the real deal.
Totally. And I see the mental health industry and the mental health crisis, I actually see it as a battlefield. Like I'm like, I see this, like I could happily just keep words to myself and keep it how it is or whatever, but I actually see it like a war to be won, you know, like, and so, but we're not going to successfully do that without funding. Like people, well, I mean, we could go deeper on that, but like the mental health crisis needs funding. And so that's like my first step. That's my first like head of the sword, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. So being able to lobby for that sort of funding. And that's something that we're quite into, like with a lot of the work that we do is like seeing downfalls in systems and then just seeing like, well, first, like money is what makes people talk and makes people move.
Absolutely.
So like we need to figure out how to lobby for more funding in that area. And if you can, whatever you can do to actually help with that sort of thing, then get behind it. Are there any things that you have? So obviously you got a big move coming, but are there? So part of that international, you know, trip and move. Is that to help grow some of the stuff while getting some life experience? Totally.
Oh my gosh. Mainly it's the words to heal you. I mean, I'm about to get married and we obviously want to do something fun with our life, you know. So London was a good idea. We're tossing up between London and New York, and then we literally paper, scissors, rocked. We're like,
oh my gosh.
That's how we make life decisions around here. We're like, oh yeah, paper, scissors, rock, whatever. Oh, it's as easy as that. But so then we're like, yeah, London. Like I said before, I really believe in words to heal you, and I believe in taking it to the world and presenting it to the world, and offering we've done a good job here in New Zealand. For the most part, I mean, it's not the biggest thing you've ever seen. Like, there's some commendable, amazing people doing great things in New Zealand. But for the most part, I think that we're in so many cities I didn't even know existed, towns I didn't know existed in New Zealand. We're everywhere in New Zealand. I say we, like Words to Heal You, me and Words to Heal You, us, me. So it's everywhere in New Zealand, and that's great. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're next, you know? Yeah. We're next. There's 4 or 5 million people in New Zealand, but there's 8 billion people in the world, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And like, when you do go over there, is it just carry on continuing to doing the stuff here, or are you gonna, like, are there things that you're targeting that you'd like to get involved with? I've got heaps of goals, like, it's so funny, I set my 5-year goals when I started selling hoodies, but most of them have happened. And I'm like, oh, damn, I need to, like, make bigger goals. Like, I really need to make bigger goals. So I'm in the process of, like, deciding, like, how do I want to go at this? Like, how do I want to take this to the world? Because maybe it's not as simple over there. I mean, we'll soon find out. In New Zealand, it's been a breeze. Yeah. I wore a hoodie one time, and then, like, I gave away one hoodie and I wore one myself, and now people wear them everywhere. So you know, cool. It's easy because, I mean, man, I really, really thank my Māori and Pacifica community for the hoodies specifically. My, like, highest demographic would definitely be my Māori and Pacifica communities. They really back their people. Yeah, they sure do. Really back their people. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. Like, I've got, I could talk about it all day, but I just, like, feel so backed and supported by Kiwis, Māori, by Pacific Islanders. Like, I feel so backed by them, and so I'm like, maybe it won't, like, I'm going to a world of people who are cutthroat, who have seen this kind of stuff before, who there's a million people with the same heart as me out there, you know. So I'm going into a bit of an environment that I don't know, but it's that
backing myself. I'm like, oh, no one can knock me down.
Yeah.
I'm just going to present something that I love to the world, and they can get on it or they can't, because I've always got New Zealand backing me behind
exactly.
me, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is like you could be wherever you are, but you could still be like keeping that same thing going and keeping those fires burning as well. That's so cool. No, I think it's so exciting. And for like the next little bit, so in terms of the writings and in terms just like thinking about the last, every post that you do, is there a time where you get shut off from it? Like, have you started to put those things in place where you're like, this is that time and this is this time?
Totally. At the start, this is so exposing, but at the start I didn't. It grew so fast, especially the hoodies. So I started the hoodies like a month or two after I started Words to Heal You. And so at the start it was like, yeah, it's cool, and it was growing and whatever, and the hoodies helped it grow a lot. And when the hoodies started taking off and the TikTok started taking off and Instagram started taking off, I didn't know how to stop talking about it.
Right.
And especially in such a vital time of our life, we're about to get married and we're about to like, we are in Wellington and we're about to make this big move, and like Mason and I's life was changing a lot. He sat me down, bless his heart, and he was like, there's got to be times that it's not all about Words to Heal You.
Right.
Because to me, it's like, this is the most, I found my purpose.
Yeah.
This is like all of my high school life and my uni life. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know myself. And for the first time, I know myself and I know who I am. But before I'm Words to Heal You and before all of that, I want to be an amazing wife, and I want to be an amazing friend to my friends, and I want to be, like that's where it all started. I was a good friend, and I was a good girlfriend, and I was a good, empath, and that's who I want to be first, So now I've had to redirect it so that my people and my circle and my fiance and my family get the best of me, and Words to Heal You gets the rest of me.
That's so cool.
It's got to be how it is.
Yeah, and it's actually such a mature reflection and realization to have, because I do know. When people start to chase dreams, like I see it in myself. Like when you get very, you just want to pursue it. That's all you want to do. And then you get to this mindset where you're like, anyone who doesn't agree is a hater. And it's like, I need to get rid of them. But like,
I know, roll my eyes.
I know, but how did you, like, when do you have that humility to be like, you're so right?
Yeah. Oh, you have to, like, I think in relationships, I mean, not everyone gets all of me, but there's a few people, like my mum and my siblings and my fiance and my two best friends, they have unlimited access to critique me. Oh, my nana as well. Shout out nana. They have unlimited access to critique me because I believe in them, and I know without a doubt in my mind that they want the best for me, for Words to Heal You, for my future, for every person who loves Words to Heal You. Like, we together are a unit of people who believe in Words to Heal You. Yeah. But outside of that, there's not a lot of people who I would be like, yeah, what do you think? And critique me. And shred it to bits, Yeah. I mean, sure, people can say what they want, and I really respect people's opinions, but that core group of people, 7 or 8 people, like, they have access to, the inmost part of me.
Yeah, that's cool. And those are the people that you just like, okay, that's who I care about, that's who I care for. And that really does matter. I actually have asked multiple people that, because when you're getting comments a lot, like there's a limit where you can start reading, like, okay, you get 8 comments on something, you can read all of them. Yeah. Do you still read comments?
Yes, totally.
Oh, you do?
Oh, totally. I think this is a funny observation. Words to Heal You is more of a place in the DMs.
Sure.
It's very private. Like, people are sharing very private stuff that a lot of people do comment, and it's so nice when people comment. But a lot of the time, they would more DM me or respond to stories or whatever, because if they're commenting, they're also commenting for 13,000 people to see, Yeah. And so I'm like, there's a bravery in people commenting, and I like honor it a lot. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I've got a background in social media, or like I'm just a Gen Z hard.
Sure.
But I'm like, I but I could reply to every single DM. I could reply to every comment. I don't have a problem. There's thousands of DMs. Like, there's a lot going on. But I'm like, I see all these DMs as individual people, Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, they deserve a conversation. Like, sometimes I have like DMs with people in my DMs. Like, I see them all. Like, sometimes I'm having like real serious conversations with people. Yeah. I don't know them. They don't know me. They don't know who's replying. But like, people deserve like a good conversation. People deserve people to listen to them and see them, you know?
Yeah, no, that is so true. And there's something that I've actually noticed with the podcast. So it was nice that you said that, where like the engagement on the post itself could be banter, like that's fine, like
totally.
but then the deeper things like, hey, I really resonated with this, and then like that's all happening in private because obviously they're putting themselves out.
It's
there.
vulnerable, totally.
Man, okay, that makes you feel a little bit better.
Yeah. There we go.
Does
We're in
this
it
always
together.
happen, or?
No, it's so always happens. The thing I could get easily discouraged. The thing is, my insights probably mean more to me than my comment section.
100%, yeah.
Because I'm like, people, like, I personally don't comment on, like, I don't know. There's other accounts like Woods Here, and I'm not commenting on them.
Yeah.
I love the comments, so if you're watching this, go comment on Woods Here. But the insights, when I see 300 people have sent it to their people, or there's like whatever shares on the story, I'm like, man, people actually care to share this. You know, it's less of a conversation.
I'm exactly the same. I like looking at that because you know that it's now become the centerpiece of someone's dialogue with someone else.
Absolutely.
Yes. No, that's very, very cool. And for, you know, the next couple of things, when you are wearing stuff or when you're going out and you're doing it, can you just describe the feeling to people for like when you do see it in the distance or someone sends you a photo of it? Because like now I want people to know that like this is a human and this is a person who really cares about what you do.
Oh my gosh. I actually believe in every single hoodie they send out. I'm not kidding. It's not, it sounds so cliche, but it's actually not just a hoodie. It is just a hoodie, but the potential that it holds, the stories that I get, man, I did a Q&A box on my story one time. Tell me about a time you're wearing a hoodie. People are sharing about, the ones that get me the most is when someone's like, I was in the supermarket and this like 85-year-old guy came up to me and he was like, thank you so much. And I'm like, because I know that Words Here is making a difference in like 18 to 25-year-olds or whatever. And people know Instagram and social media, but the hoodies are words to heal you for the world, you know? The hoodies are words that impact people. And so we see them all the time. Like I think we've sent like 2,000 around New Zealand.
Sheesh.
And so they're like everywhere, right? And I travel around New Zealand a lot. And I see them everywhere. And it is like the most surreal feeling. Every single time I see them, I'm like, have to tell myself, don't go up to them. Like, don't go up to them. Because most of the time I want to go up to people and be like, thank you so much. But they'll be like, who the you? You know, and I'm like, like I posted that from my bedroom, you know. But most of the time I'm like, I see them everywhere and it's like the most surreal feeling. People send me photos of them every day. Scoots sends me a photo at Otago Uni every single day.
Time he sees
like
one?
every time he sees one, which is often because they're all over uni. And I'm getting them in my Facebook Messenger every week being like, so hoodie. Because like I said before, like my inner circle really believes in Words to You, and we all see them everywhere. And so I'm like, I can't believe that. It also doesn't feel like it's mine. Like, I think maybe if I was doing a clothing line that I designed and it was like, this is plain text on a plain hoodie. It's not design savvy. It's just, and it's not exclusively mine. Once I send it out, it's yours. Yeah, I sent it to you and you paid for it or whatever, but that's actually yours to go make a difference now, you know?
Yeah, that's so cool. But like, it's interesting what like plain, like, there's so much to say to it. Like it's so there. Like it's almost a perfect photo in most instances. If you're in a nice spot and you got good colorways, and you put it on and then you just like, it's just so bold. It's right there.
It's right there.
Like,
and you can't miss it. That's the thing. That's like the bright colors and the white text or whatever it looks like. You can't miss it. And that's why it's so funny with my printer. He like sent me a mock-up and I was like, can it be bigger? The text be bigger? And he sent me another one 5 times. I was like, can it please be bigger? bigger. I'm like, just like, I want it to be so big that from miles away, you're like, the world is better with me in it. Or if you're looking for a sign, this is it. Or whatever, you know, that people would feel really impacted from a million miles away, you know?
No, that's so cool. And I just think that it gives you a warm feeling, you know, even if, because like we have no idea what anyone's going through at any time. And like, I always say this at different times, like that's how I became a bit more compassionate or empathetic to people like who did me wrong. And I'm just like, okay, but what else is going on? And then so
there's
like
always something going on.
And it's just the smallest thing that you can do. And like you're walking past however many people per day. It's a quick, like, thank you.
When you wear it, like I actually don't think it's just me that thinks this, but when I wear it, especially at the start, now I'm a bit more used to it, but I would like intentionally walk slower. I'm like, and I think that's important in life to just glide through life, you know, taking the moment, not just rushing place to place. But I'm walking on the main street in Wellington and I'm like actually walking slow with my shoulders back, hoping and praying that someone would see the back of my hoodie. And so I'm dressing with intention, you know.
Yes.
I love fashion a lot, but wearing words to heal you garments is like, I'm not wearing this for myself. I'm wearing this for the impact that it could have on someone.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is powerful. That is very, very powerful stuff. And I think, as long as you're believing in it and you know that everyone that is around you is believing in it, you know, that's the key part, because the last thing you ever want to do is build something that you love so much and then start having like resentment because of all, like, I don't know,
absolutely.
like something happens and you're just like, you know what, I hate this.
Man, you got to believe in yourself so much.
But it sounds like you've got a cool circle too.
Yeah, a great circle. A circle that's taken time to like build, you know?
Yeah. And like this is, I mean, like you said, it's only been a year and almost going on a year and a half.
Yeah.
And you just have so much belief in it and to keep pushing it.
Yeah. And I'm glad I believe in it.
Yeah.
I didn't always believe in it, you know. I didn't think I really had anything to offer people. And now it's not like that's particularly changed. I'm like, I'm just still like the small girl from Dunedin, whatever. But now I'm like, no, through the unity and like through us doing it together, there is actually something to offer people, you know?
Yeah, no, that's magic.
Yeah.
That is very, very magic. And do you find that, okay, this is another thing, because like as a podcaster, right, everyone just assumes that I'm really good at making conversation.
Oh, yeah.
I am when I want to be.
Totally.
But, like a lot of the time, because when you're going into different spaces and people know who you are coming into that space, you know, do they always try to get straight into like deep conversation?
Totally.
Okay, right.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the hardest thing about words to you growing is like people potentially expecting me to be perfect all the time.
Ah, right.
Because words to you is like a profound space of like great poetry and a big heart. Yeah. But then I'm also a 21-year-old girl who's like fun and loud and big personality and like crazy and like, you know, so I think that's been like a bit of a journey, being like, oh, I don't want anyone to expect like me to just be like this perfect. Sometimes I say things that are so rude. Right. You know, like, or like sometimes I'm a brat to my mum, or sometimes I'm like just not nice. Like it's just like that is me being a person. And so the hardest part has been like in my head, maybe people don't expect perfection, but in my head I'm thinking, oh no, like people see you as words to you, like, and obviously I do have this responsibility to show off words to you in a good way, but I'm like, no, there's still room to be imperfect, and there's still room to be silly and like make mistakes and say the wrong things. And I hope that people have the grace for it. But man, people do want to go deep all the time, and I'm like, my brain's always deep. Like, let's just talk about something shallow as for a second.
I know exactly what you mean. Like every time people like ask me like, hey, what are your thoughts on, like, I don't have thoughts right now.
Nothing. I've got nothing. Like, I know, and because I write all the time, people think that I'm like this. Well, I mean, I really like putting words together well. Yep. But I'm not an author. Yes. Or like a copywriter. And so people will be like, hey, can you proofread this for me? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like, I don't know how to write. Like, I just put words on the paper, you know?
Yeah.
So funny.
And that's my last question before we get into my final question that I ask everyone. But just when you are posting, so going from, you know, having your first couple thousand to now, you know, your huge audience, do you have more pressure on yourself when you post?
Yes. I want to say yes, but not too much. Okay. Because, like, at the start, it was always a deep place. People kind of know what they're signing up for. Yep. You don't have to follow it. That's the thing. Like, I invite you not to follow it if you're not into it.
Sure,
you know?
Sure.
Even if you just want to buy a hoodie and not actually follow with you, whatever, you know. I think that the pressure is, okay, this is so funny. I actually do have a fear of being cancelled. Right. Like, and not as in like, oh, like cancelled, as in like people, this generation has lost grace for people. Yes. And so I have controversial thoughts all the time. Yep. So, for example, what did I write about the other day that was controversial? I was thinking about mental health the other day. Okay. Kind of controversial thoughts. I'm thinking about, like, for me, I'm like, am I addicted to my mental health problems? Am I addicted to anxiety? Yes. Or do I actually have anxiety? Right. That is probably quite controversial. But anyways, I'm thinking, am I addicted to it? Or does it just, you know, do I have it or whatever? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, no, I can't post that to 13,000 people because, like, I actually have this responsibility to teach people how to, like, deal with their thoughts and teach. So I have to be a bit more gentle at the start / / Words to You Unfiltered, it's quite grunty.
Yep.
It's quite like, I'll say whatever I want, you know.
Right.
This is my space and this is my thoughts. But now it's actually not just my space. It's a space that I've been entrusted, you know.
Sure, yeah.
All these people, I don't know why me, but like all these people have trusted me to give them advice. And so I want to hold that really gently, you know, and like hold that with such honor. At the same time, I still want to be like me.
Yes.
Like I want to be me. I want to be fun. I want to be like a bit like raunchy sometimes. The other day I posted truth or dare. Truth, when was the last time you were really honest about how you are? Dare, write a Christmas card to your ex and burn
That's
it.
right. Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like something like that. Like that's kind of like, that's not very healing, whatever. And there was a couple of people that were like, don't know about that. But I'm like, no, I need to back myself. And like, also I need to still let Words to You be like a fun place. Yep. Like it's not a serious, like gloomy place.
And you're not telling people like you have to do it.
Yeah,
But if you want to.
It's a fun game. We're playing Truth or Dare, you know. So there's times where I'm like, oh, I should probably take this more seriously. But then there's other times, most times I'm like, no, lighten up.
Yep.
Like you're Brooklyn.
Yep.
Lighten up. You can't be like this serious figure all the time, you know.
That's so cool. That is so cool. And I think people hearing that will really appreciate that. And then it gives a lot of cool context around the content that's coming out. Yeah. That it's coming from a human who likes to experience the world, has deep thoughts a lot of the time, and most of the times these deep thoughts are going out so that you don't have to live it.
Yeah, totally. We're doing it together.
Yeah. That's so cool. And then one question I ask everyone is, what is something you do every day or close to every day that makes you feel like you've optimized the day?
Oh, great. I've got so many answers in my head.
Okay. We'll do, you can have a few.
Okay. My 3 that come to my head. Number 1, spend time with someone I love.
Awesome.
Which is like, I have to do that every day. I live with my bestest friend on earth. Like, I'm like, because we want to spend so much time together, you know? Like, I want to spend time with people I love every single day. So, number 1. Number 2, reading.
Cool.
It's just like a getaway. It takes me away, like, from the world and the busyness and the noise, and I just get to read. And thirdly, write, you know?
Nice.
When I have written in a day, or sometimes I write like 10 posts in a day because I just have them coming out of me for some reason. When I've written, I know that I'm playing my part in the world, you know. Yeah. My part in the world is just words to heal you. Yeah. And so when I've written, I'm like, I'm doing my part in the world, you know. That I've optimized my day.
Yes.
Yeah.
That are the coolest 3 answers.
Oh,
and I think it's so succinct. And because you knew that they were the 3 things, it's like you definitely try to make time every day to do it.
That was the first thing that was in my head.
Yeah.
Could have been anything.
Well, that's what this is. This has been such a cool space to be in. Thanks. And there were so many things that I was just like, that would be cool to talk about. That'd be cool to talk about.
We could keep going.
But like, it was cool just to get to know you. I think a lot of the time when people, go on, they're talking about a thing that you do, but they're not talking about you. Yeah. And it was really nice to actually get to know, more of the backstory behind it all. So I really, really appreciate your time. Grateful. All the best for, your travels overseas. We'll keep an eye out. Hopefully we get to see it all. This
is my announcement. I haven't really my everyone that needs to know knows, but this to anyone watching.
Yeah. So if anyone's over there as well and you have billboards.
Yeah. If you have any contacts in London with billboards, hit me up.
No, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much.